Hi, and welcome to another mapping tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to go over how to make a sewer path like this. Not necessarily a sewer path, but a circular interior path like this. So first what we're going to do is we're going to go into Tools, Options up here, and then in the 2D views, we're going to look here on the right, the second option on the right. It is reorient primitives on creation in the active 2D view. We want to make sure that this is checked on. And what that does is that when we make a new brush, it will orient that brush to whatever 2D view is currently active. That allows us to actually make a circle in the side view rather than just from the top and then having to rotate it later, which is what you would have to do if you don't have that checked on. Now I have this reference prop. I'm going to copy this over, and then we're going to make the brush. So I select the new brush tool, and over here on the right, we have, is my cursor even visible? It is visible. Okay. What we're going to do is make sure that the primitive is set to arch, and we're just going to draw a big box around. And we're also going to want to make sure, well, you know what this distance is. So from here on the outside of the box to on the interior of where we want the circle to be. And I've measured this out beforehand. I know that that distance is 160. So I'll go ahead and make this. I hit enter in the 2D view that I want the circle to be in. And now it brings up this dialog. So at the top, you have wall width. And this is going to be the thickness of the arch. We want to set that to 160 or whatever it was that you measured. We have the number of sides. I'm going to set this to 16 because I know that's going to give me something smooth. Yep, that's pretty smooth on the interior. Arc, we want 360, or you can just hit the circle button. Start angle, add height, we don't care about those. Hit OK. And now we have a big circle, which conveniently has this interior part missing for what we want. And then from there, we take the clipping tool, and we just clip off the excess. Oh, there we are. And now we have the tube. And there's one last thing we want to do. I'm going to hide the cap there for a moment. Select this. And what we'll note is that since this was clipped off, where these vertexes meet on the brush is not actually on grid, we're going to want to correct that a little bit. So I'm just going to go in, select each one here, and just draw a box over it, and you may have to hit enter to select. No, grab it. We'll grab it, maybe, there we are. Grab it and move it onto the grid. And this just sort of ensures that all the vertexes for our brushes are on grid, which you don't always have to do this in terms of like your map not breaking, but it's good to be a little bit risk adverse because you don't want to find out, say a month or two later, that something is terribly broken, you have to remake it. So now we have the brush, and I've sort of clipped this down to a square. You'll note 256 by 256, which is a nice size, and that way we can sort of integrate this into a wall a little bit better, and we don't have to worry about resizing anything. So if I want this wall to be a little bit taller, I just make another brush above it. And if I want more stuff on the sides, then I put stuff to the sides. And I make sure that I don't really alter the part around the arch because that brushwork is complicated. So if I ever want to extend the wall, I just make more brushes to extend it rather than resizing this brush. Now we can look at corners. If we want to make a rounded corner, good luck. This method will not lend itself very well to making rounded corners. However, we can make sort of a sharp elbow corner. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to copy paste this. So I'm just going to hold shift and drag it, and that'll make a copy. And then put two of these together. And we'll say we want to join this elbow. So what I'm going to do is, again, shift drag, or in this case, I'm actually just going to use shift arrow because that's the way I prefer to do things. And move this into position. And so now we have this. And I'm just going to clip it at an angle. And it deleted a couple brushes for no reason. That's cool. Yeah, it's just kind of forgetting a few brushes. I don't know why it's doing that. We'll try resizing. Nope. That's cool. Again, we'll try resizing. Oh boy. There we are. Now we have the thing at the size that we want it. We'll also try cutting this off. Yep. Okay, and then I can copy paste this. I'll bring up the transform menu. That's Control M to bring up the transform menu. And then I can scale it by -1 to mirror it. And then I have an elbow. One last thing you may want to consider is actually grabbing this whole thing and tying it to func detail. Now, you'll do that by hitting Control T, and by default, that'll automatically turn it into a func detail. And this will sort of help out the visleaf structure a little bit. However, since this is actually a interior circular thing, the visleaf structure for this is not actually going to be that complicated. Ideally, the interior of this will turn into just one visleaf and not have any weird splits. However, there might be some weird splits that happen on the outside. You could resolve that with a hint brush. Basically, whether or not you want to play it safe, you'll want to tie this to a func detail. You don't need to, and if you don't, it's going to make your job of sealing up the map a little bit easier, because you won't have to put a whole bunch of brushes around the outside to properly seal the map. You can do whatever you want.